Hi, I'm Rob from robnonphoto.com, and today we're going to be having a quick look at a book review, a Roland Pleterski, Drawn by the Light. It's another one of those cheap books that I picked up from TK Maxx, the discount fashion clearance clothing shop here in the UK. But they also have a rather handy book section, which, although it's normally filled with lots of cookery books and stuff, you will find the odd photo book going for a song. For example, I picked this one up for £4. You know, not bad, is it? So for the price of your average digital photo how-to magazine, you can pick up a collection of beautiful photographs that are beautifully reproduced to inspire you, and also because it's a bit of a random selection of books that you'll see in there. You know, it's not like you'll go in there thinking, right, I'm going to buy a book of Ansel Adams landscapes, because, you know, these are remaindered books, these are books that haven't sold normally. It's going to be a bit of an esoteric collection you come up with, because basically the books are so cheap, most of them, that you'll just probably buy what you see. That's what I tend to do when I go in there. I tend to pick them up, peel the cellophane off if they got that round, if nobody's looking, and I'll look through it and I'll see, are there any pictures that catch my eye, and is the price right? In other words, is it less than a tenner? Is it round about the price of a couple of photo magazines that I would normally spend my money, or I used to spend my money on? And if the answer to those is yes, so it has caught my eye, it's a reasonable price, then, you know, I'll get it. Now, Roland Pleterski was a famous fashion photographer in the 50s and 60s. He was originally born in Hungary, I think, and then came over to Vienna. Born Vienna, yes, that's Austria, isn't it? Sorry, born in Austria. And came over to New York in the 50s, became a photographic assistant for Irving Penn, and then went off to do his own work for Vogue, Harper's Bazaar and Glamour magazine. I hadn't heard of him before, and there's not that much information on the net, but what we've got here is a collection of his fashion photographs, photographs of artists, some of his nude work, and generally also some very nice pictures of New York in the late 50s and early 60s. But tell you what, let me turn the camera around and let's have a closer look at Roland Pleterski, Drawn by the Light. So here we go, here's our closer look excuse me, got a bit of a cough, at Roland Pleterski's Drawn by the Light, a collection of photographs pulled together by Peter Colin. Again, Mr. Pleterski, not a well-known photographer. Well, he may well be, but I don't know, didn't know much about him, couldn't find much on the web. As I said before, started off as an assistant for a famous photographer who I've just mentioned, I've completely forgotten, but he went on to shoot for Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, I think, and other fashion publications. But when we go straight into the book, it starts off with some really very nice urban landscape shots of that perennial subject that never fails to disappoint, New York in the late 50s. Actually, that's the Bermudas. Here we go, back to New York. I love old photos of New York. I guess it's because we see the city so often, don't we, on film and television, and to be transported back in time is always a pleasure. Bit reminiscent of some of George Force's work. I know they're from different eras, but this, you know, this type of photograph, that's me all over that. I love these sorts of things. These urban architecture shots with, it's all about the line, the light, and the form of the photograph. But then, as we move along past New York, I promise, we start moving into some street photography. Cuba, I think he went to as well, yes. And then we're on set back in New York, and we start to move into his fashion work, which is just coming up right now. Here we go. Right, here we go. So Obviously, a lot of the fashions in these fashion photographs, the hairstyles, the makeup, the models, has changed beyond recognition. Would we really see anything like this today? Well, the answer, to be honest, if you kind of look behind some of the fashion shots, is probably yes, we do, but we see them in different ways. The perennial. I mean, how many times, if you open up a copy of Vogue or Elle or whatever, there's normally at least one editorial where there will be a subject on a plain background, normally in colour now, obviously you don't get that much black and white, a plain seamless, as we would call it, and then, and lit in a fairly simple way. Obviously with these, it's a bloke shot, so, you tend to use more directional lighting on men because they makes them look a little bit more moodier, but then when you have your women, you tend to use more of a softer light to be a lot more flattering. But although some of the photographs undoubtedly have aged, some of them are truly timeless. So this one, for example, 1958. Could have been taken yesterday. I've got to be quite careful now because there are some nude work coming up, and I don't want to get caught in the YouTube's ban on rude photographs. But as you can see, there was a great collection of different types of images, fashion, urban landscape, encompassing his whole career. And as I kind of explained at the beginning, that's Roland Pleterski there, anyway. As I explained at the beginning, the randomness of picking up cheap second-hand photography books is the joy. The journey is more than the end. By looking through this, I might not have any of my favourite photos. I might go, oh wow, this isn't the greatest photo book I've ever seen. But the photographs are undoubtedly very, very good indeed. And by reading, by looking, by learning, and by just experiencing lots of different photographs, we grow as photographers. We're not going to be copying the images, but we might be trying to recreate them. But most of all, I think, from these sorts of books, we get inspiration to take more photos of our own. So there we go. Roland Pleterski, Drawn by the Light. I pick it up for a bargain of £4. If you see it going cheap at a remainder store or again at your library, pick it up, have a look. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. My name's Rob from robandphoto.com. Thanks for watching.